What an inspiring story, both from Yogi and Varun. So I'm here to change a little bit of a track here. So although Varun has been saying, don't think, looks like a lot of thought has been gone. I want to, again, connect back certain things back to the agenda of this event, right? So where Google really plays a big role, right? I mean, Google has been playing a very silent role in changing lives and touching lives of many people over here. So I'm also going to talk about a little bit on the GBG before I jump onto the topic over here. I just realized it is our just third event we are doing conducted by the GBG, and many of during our tea break and the lunch interaction. Making too much noise? Okay, during the tea break and lunch interaction, I figured out that many of them didn't know about GBG. I thought I'll just take a few minutes to talk about it. So Google has been traditionally having a community group called Google Technology User Group. Now it's named as Google Developers Group. The focus of GDG is to evangelize online technologies, web technologies, to the technical community. But there was a great vision by people like Sunil and Ola, who was in the Google. I mean, they figured out that a lot of SMEs, I mean, people who are non-tech savvy, also have to, can be much more benefited by Google technologies where they've invested a lot. In fact, they've invested all the time and energy, innovation, creativity to make people like us benefit, right? So which was actually a gap which was identified internally, and the GBG was born, right? GBG is there to, as it says, it's to connect the right people, provide the right information in a way it can be consumed by an SMBs, both technical and non-techie entrepreneurs, and then inspire them with the right kind of stories which we have been doing over here, so that we can take back these lessons and convert into our own success stories, right? So the goal of GBG is like create more and more showcases, right? More and more success stories like Varun and Yogi in Bangalore. I think they have figured it out on their own. We want to translate this into many more success stories over the period over here. So this is what basic introduction about the GBG. I think let me move on to the other topic. I think there's an interesting panel after this topic which will let you connect these dots. We have been throwing a lot of dots over there, idea in the keynote, some inspiring stories over there, some very great technology session by Syed. I hope I'll give some more useful insights on the mobile ecosystem and Android ecosystem. So we'll try to connect all of them in the panel discussions. I would encourage a lot of good participation during the panel, make it very interactive. Let me jump onto this thing. So the idea of this presentation is to look at the mobile landscape. We want to say that it's too large that you cannot ignore as any kind of business. So my idea is to give a pitch where no matter whatever industry you are in, no matter whatever business you do, today the mobile ecosystem is growing so big that you can't ignore. So what are the actions you can take? So hopefully I'll wind up with the session with few tips and tricks or few things which you should do immediately. So I'm going to take Android as an example over here, although it can be extrapolated to the current mobile ecosystem. Look at the number of apps being developed, right, over the period. Now we are almost like 1 million plus apps have been available on the Android store. Number of downloads that has happened, it's 50 billion downloads. What does that mean? The app has been sitting on people's hand, right? It's been downloaded 50 billion times, right? Look at the power of marketing and kind of things which has been revolution being created by the mobile industry. So look at the number of apps which is getting added month on month. This is the stats as of today morning, right? It says September 21st, so I picked it up this stats today morning. So the number of apps per month is close to roughly about average of 35 to 40,000 apps are being added into the ecosystem. And somehow AppBrain has got a way to even quantify what are regular apps and the low quality apps. The number of quality apps are definitely increasing on the store on a day-to-day basis, on a monthly basis. So, okay, great story. We understand the landscape is big. So what can we do? How can we use this to gain visibility, discoverability for my own business? So that's what we're talking about, mobile marketing. Again, I just want to clarify here that I'm not talking about mobile apps development instantly. We will reach there over the period. But I'm talking about mobile marketing. So you have a business, there is a marketplace. How do you enhance your reach? That's the kind of topic we are looking at it. So I'd like to give credits to Nelson Life 360 survey, and I got all this data from Think with Google. If you guys have not visited Think with Google portal, do look at it. Lot of case studies for the entrepreneurs and the business stories are there. Market analysis, data, tips and tricks, everything is available over there. It's a great forum. I wish Think with Google chapter comes to India soon. It's predominantly US based right now. So I'm going to take through two perspectives on the mobile marketing. One is from the consumer perspective. Other one is from the what today other business and brands are working at it, right? So if you look at the consumer per se, so what is he doing? What is he using mobile for, right? He's constantly, other than making calls and other things in the current smartphone era, he's continuously using the mobile for finding something, searching something, right? So let it be a restaurant, let it be a product, let it be a friend, so let it be for some news, whatever it is. He's continuously engaging with the application time to time. So it's an interesting stat that 77% of the mobile searches occur at home or at work, and 17% on the go. This is also interesting that what it says, even though he's at home or office, he has a great access to internet and the desktops, but he's still using mobility as a main way to search. So if your presence is not there, think about it, what's going to happen, right? That's the first thing to think about it. And some of the stats like shopping queries are 2x more likely to be while he's on the store, right? When he's looking at the product, right? He has a query, should I go with this product or this product? Most likely he's picking up the phone and doing. So these are some of the consumer behavior which you are trying to highlight over here. So I'll touch upon. So this, another thing is, this actually gives you a good landscape of variety of information he's been looking at it. So this is one of the debate you can have. You know what? I am from an industry, maybe something, we'll take it like healthcare industry. I was talking during the lunch. I'm from a healthcare industry. Should I go mobile? Is it relevant to me? Should I be, when I have an online store, I have an online portal, so I am an IBN Live, I'm an NDTV, therefore I need mobility, I need to focus on mobile. So if I'm not in that space, online space, non-IT, if I'm in a place at Chandni Chowk or whatever, should I focus on the mobility, right? I mean, that's not true anymore, right? These people are using it across the genres, so your presence you cannot ignore. I mean, as long as you can map to any one of these genres, your mobile presence is very much important over here. So this we touched upon. This is another thing. So another question which can come up is naturally, okay, people are searching and doing. Does it actually translating to me as a business driver? Okay, people are using mobility. What are they doing after that? Is it really translating to a value and a business for me? So that's what this talks about, right? So 36% of the people actually continue research. They start as mobile as a starting point, since it has got a ease of use. They start there and they kind of continue this journey through mobile only is 70%, mobile plus PC is about 17%. And 25% of the people who research do visit the retailer's website immediately. If I'm going looking for searching for shoes and stuff, blah, 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 I hit a Nike, definitely I'm going to the Nike web page or Reebok web page to see the next level. So that means the next level engagement is definitely happening through your mobile. So word of mouth is very important, and 7%, the last one is like 7% of the search also results in a call to a business. So you have to take this very seriously in terms of consumer behavior. So another interesting stuff. So what is the pattern is also seen that when people do search, within 1 hour from the search initiated, they make a decision that they have to really make a purchase out of it. They make a decision. Okay, I am going to buy Puma shoes, right? In less than an hour. So that's a window you got. When somebody is thinking about something, he's searching, he's finding in the 1 hour window, he's going to make a business. He's going to give a business to the people, right? So let me change the landscape a little bit. So this is the consumer behavior part of it we have seen. So now we look at what are today's brands and the guys who are doing. It's interesting that only 25% of the brands have a mobile strategy today. 75% of them lag today, in terms of, or they are working on it. Either most of them are working on it, most of them are not even taking it seriously. This is another, for me, it's good news for me because we provide mobile application services, so it's a good news. So I have a lot of market to go and tap here. So the second part is, what type of mobile presence does the businesses, the brands we're talking about 28% have it, right? So it's 27% of the people who have only mobile sites. So they make sure the website is mobile friendly so that, they can, actually people who are hitting the search and coming back to their business are able to connect. And 7% of them have apps, 21% have both. And it's interesting that 45% of the business just still focusing only on the desktop. So in a minute, I'll tell you whether it's a right or wrong. So let's look at, now we have a big landscape. We know there are opportunities to go after. So as a business, what are the strategies I need to deploy to reach this mobile market, right? So I'm going to leave with 3 tips, basically. Again, we can, then more we'll take it up in a Q&A manner. One is going after responsive websites. What is responsive websites? Can anybody? Great. So I think you
Same URL, it will serve different experience on different.
Based on the viewport of the device. Okay, the CSS.
Right. So I think all the answers are correct. So that is something which is very important. Typically, people have for the people who have not answered, there is a little bit of misnotion here that responsive websites versus more of an interactive UI design kind of a thing. It's not. When you say responsive, it's actually adapting yourself to the kind of device what you're doing. So it's not only platform, you have to look at the further nailing down, what kind of, it's just not, I have an iOS versus Android, right? It's an iOS, it's an iPhone or an iPad. In kind of Android, it is going to be a Samsung phone or it's going to be a phablet or it's going to be a tablet kind of a thing. You look at it and can kind of present yourself, right? This is very important. So another data point we have is 90% of the interaction today happens through smartphone, laptop, tablet, and interestingly, even television is still figuring out. I don't have the exact percentage how television is playing a role over here. And 10% only happens through radio and news and the magazines. So I think I just want to connect back. So Varun did, it reminds me of the newsletter, what he kind of roles it plays in India. Definitely it continues to play a bigger role in India, but I think online and today's social medium is really making it more viral. I don't know whether the return on ROI is so high in terms of your family and social status, which I can't comment right now. So the second strategy is content marketing. So you have product or a portal, so I'm just calling as a content. So how do you take it forward, right? One is you have to present yourself in the mobile-friendly content, which we talked about it. Second one is mobile relevance. So suppose you are a firm who does a lot of, say, papers. You write a lot of papers and patents and stuff like that. Is it going to putting on a feature phone or going to be like a low-end Android phones? If you're going to try to squeeze and going to present yourself, is it going to give a lot of ROI for you? Probably no, right? So you have to look at what is that in your business, what is that your content, which you think we should make it mobile friendly and go after it. Typically, when we actually do a lot of ideations for the brands and big customers, right? We say, mobile apps is not a software, or mobile website is not a complete software where you serve anything and everything to the user. So you typically take a pointed solution or a pointed service what you want to give and you go after. You want to probably say one message and deliver it neatly because of real estate constraints, right? You don't try to make it as a complete complex menu and make everything available in a small real estate. So probably your desktop can have a lot of things, but when you go to a mobile site, it doesn't have to squeeze every piece of content what is there in the desktop into a mobile screen. You can break it into chunks where you present one at a time, kind of a thing. That's what I make it as a mobile relevance. So other thing is, how many of you access social media through mobile? Right? All of you, right? So it's very important in this context that you have a social presence. Not only, because I think there is a good statistics, I don't have the right number right now, I think it's about close to 70% of the people access social network through mobile. If anybody has any other number, any known numbers? So okay, then I'll go with my number, 70%, right? So it's very important that you have a business presence in social media, not because social is getting viral. A lot of people in the mobile users, which is a big landscape, which we got convinced, is a lot of people accessing over there. Therefore, you need to have your presence over there, right? And we talked about YouTube stories, how the online can be viral. So these are some of the tools available. Today, we take it for granted. We never actually give credit back to, say, G Plus and YouTube to Google and say, you know, what a wonderful tools we have been given with. It's like when SMS, when it came along with the phone, SMS is a basic requirement. Without an SMS, you don't call it, that is the phone, right? So we say that's a basic feature. But that's actually an app, very successful app, which was somebody envisioned and developed many years ago, right? If you look at it. There comes a problem. Okay, I created a mobile-friendly website. I created an online presence. Everything is good. There's a chicken and egg problem. How do I make my website or my social pages more viral? And how do we work on the discoverability? That's where I think we got good stories. I'm just trying to connect back, right? In terms of AdWords or AdMob, right? Those things you can actually make use of them to make your presence, online presence, more viral and visible. So it's interesting. So last couple of things which I mentioned here is it also allows you to do a lot of targeting. I mean, I thought I need to speak a lot to explain this. Thanks to the previous speakers who actually connected well. In terms of demographics, you want to target Hyderabad, you can do it. You want to target Bangalore, you can do it. Today you can even go and say, no, I want only Airtel users in Bangalore who uses Samsung. Therefore, show him a LG Nexus ad, right? Today that level of targeting can be done today, right? So that kind of platforms are available today, whether you talk about AdWords or DFPs or all the solutions available from the various providers. And you can even interestingly go after, this is an ad suitable for this particular age group, right? The more and more you go in online, I mean, this kind of sectoring is possible today. The third part is actually the mobile apps. So I hope so far I've made a clear distinction, right? In terms of you have a business, you go mobile, and you come with a marketing strategy and go viral, use ads and other things to make yourself more discoverable. The third part gets very interesting in terms of mobile apps. So certain things I'm going to take for granted. So I just want all my Q&As and interactions to be around this topic. So I'm just setting the base here. So I'm taking this for granted, right? In terms of for any application, there should be a specific value creation should be there, right? I mean, that's something which is important. You just can't come with my own app and just kind of put it over there. You need to serve some utility. So in case of your online presence, online store and e-commerce, this value proposition is very clear. Even otherwise, you can come with a lot of value propositions. For example, there was again another Coke story which I was reading in the I think we saw in the keynote, right? Coke story, which was actually sharing happiness across this stuff, right? This kind of value proposition, you can actually ideation, you can come and go and deliver it today superbly in this platform today. So that's the first part which we are talking about. The second thing is about a decent UI UX. This is something which is people have taken it for granted over the years, right? When iOS was launched in 2008, although it was known for great UI UX, the apps were not meant to be in that. Typically use any kind of, people has to go after functionality, and they thought if I put a good idea, good apps, I can become a millionaire. That was the intention in 2008, 2009. But things dramatically changed when a serious people came in and said, I can exploit this platform to build a great look and feel. Then it evolved over the period and said, great look and feel does not, you have utility, you have a great look and feel, but that's not going to serve my purpose. You should have a great experience. If I want to achieve something, I need to achieve in 1 click or a 2 click. Otherwise, I'm losing the client because they do have a lot of options today. So how many of you have a cricket app in their phone? Very few. I'm surprised. what kind of gang I'm talking to. So how many of them have 2 cricket apps among this? So yes, there is at least one. So there's a lot of choices you pick up, right? That's where the user experience comes. So people continuously competing with each other. ESPN Cricket Info or Cricket Next or a Cricket Buzz. Everybody's competing each other in terms of this user experience. How can they show the content, relevant content, what you're looking for without even clicking? Can they think for you? They can work for you, kind of a thing, right? So another third part is analytics integration. So how many of you use Google Analytics here? Okay, that's a lot. So how many of you use Google Analytics on the mobile relevance? Okay, good, quite a few. So that's something which is, again, something which we take for granted today. I mean, if you don't build a portal, if you're building a portal or a mobile apps today without an analytics, it doesn't make sense today. And the day you launch, next day there will be a question, how many downloads happen? Is people are engaging on the first page or the second page? Which is the page I need to rework and improve upon, right? That's the one. Third thing is write business hooks. So since I'm talking to a broader audience, this topic also sounds very broader. So if your business is around mobility, right, then you want to monetize through your mobile apps and mobile channels, right? If your business is not around primarily mobile apps, you have something else, and you want to use this as a channel for user engagement, then that's your business hook. So you need to be very clear, whether you want to monetize from this app or I'm using it for the promotional and brand building kind of a thing. So you have to be very clear on your requirements so that you can adapt some strategies. Again, some numbers here, why that is important, right? It's not that every app you develop, you can make tons of money out of it, unless you plan correctly, right? Look at the red bar says number of apps being built, right? The blue one says number of free apps, and the green says number of paid apps which are getting downloaded. Look at the category in the down, right? So how many of apps which has been like more than 1 million downloads has happened, especially paid versus free, right? You almost see a paid app download, if it's in volumes, you're not going to see a paid app in that range. So it direct multiple, right? So there's a different way to monetize these free apps, there's a different way to monetize the other way, volume apps, right? So you look at the ads and other things to go after. So this is again to give you across categories. This is something, so what a category, again it plays a different role in different categories. Here actually you can make another relevance with respect to your business, what you're looking at it. Still the personalization try to be dominating in terms of your wallpapers and ringtones and other kind of an apps, which still makes a big thing. Of course, entertainment and gaming is the second thing, and the book is the third. These are some of the trends. I think we saw this later. So the interesting part is, this is something which is very interesting, irrespective of whatever business you are in, right? This is the way where you should go definitely for the mobile application. So this is what you call as a user engagement. This is something beyond. There are two things happens in acquisition of your customers in the mobile apps. The first step is people go to the store, look at the icon, look at the description, they get attracted. So let's just see, suppose you're looking for let me take the same cricket example. You go search for cricket, you get like 3 or 4, right? One is of course the brand value. If you don't have a big brands, you still get listed. So yeah, suppose I'm searching for a games, right? Suppose you're a game developer, you're developing a game, then I judge, the user actually judges through the icon and the description. That's the first thing you have, first thing you should get it correct. So assume you got it correct, right? So people clicked it, they downloaded it. So once they download, this is a second chance where people get a wow experience. If you've got the right UI and right UX, people are going to say, wow, I like this application. And I had a mood, I was searching for something, I got something wonderful, I enjoyed it, great. So what will make them open your app again and again, right? Do you have a right level of incentives for the user to open, or are you giving the right amount of utilities for your user to open this app again? This is where a lot of the apps fail today. I mean, there's a great app called Draw Something, which was like a couple of years back. It was a very huge downloads, millions of downloads were happening. And in fact, we were even contacted by one of the OEMs saying, you copycat and get into the apps into our stores because they're not developing on all the platforms. It was such a great competition that was happening on the market. Today, nobody talks about that app, right? So that's where you lose your customers, lose your engagement. So it's very important that you look at it. Today, people are looking at this space heavily up to the extent where they spam you. I don't know how many people have downloaded a news app or something. You keep downloading this, right? I mean, and you have to do it correctly. In fact, it has also caused some damages to me, right? In terms of, I used to be very prompt in SMS, and I used to send a lot of SMS to people, and they used to respond to me also very quickly. Today, I don't see that. Somebody has sent SMS, I don't see them for half an hour or 1 hour. I mean, then I realize some SMS has come because in the tons of all the notification, SMS has become one notification, right? Same thing happens to me. When I send some quick SMS, I'm in a meeting, can we talk, blah, 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 I don't get a response. So people are clearly, getting intruded. So you need to strike a right balance. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. You need to strike a right balance in terms of how you engage with the users. So what are the things, right? One is about, so what are the ways you can create your engagement with the users, right? One is through some kind of loyalty programs. Other one is more of for your brand recall is a benefit out of this. And incentives. What kind of incentives we are talking about, right? Say, if in a game typically, right? So I have like 10 levels of games. I have logged one. So I need to unlock quickly the second level of the game. It says, what, if you can actually share this app to 5 people, right, you get unlocked. So the second level, right? I mean, that's more of a gamification we are talking about, right? So how many of you track or connect with in LinkedIn because you care about the number of connects? So how many of you have 500 plus connections here? Right. So do you know all the people by name? 500 people? Right. But why do we still continue to accept? It's basically this is a gamification which is actually making you do that, right? So you're creating a notion that socially you are more valuable if you have more connects there, right? Because of that, even I tend to click all my HR connects and job connects and all that stuff which I didn't even interact before, right? Even though LinkedIn clearly says if you don't know this person, report spam, right? We never do that. Most of them never do that, right? Because it's more looking like a social status. That's what LinkedIn's and Facebook likes and G+ follow and Twitter follows have been doing over the period, right? So thoughts and question Q&As I want to go after around this. So I've recap few questions so that it creates some kind of environment for us to discuss. One is, can I choose to ignore mobile space? How important it is? How many of you feel it's important now? So I see 50, 60% of the hands. Still 40% I didn't do a good job, right? So probably we should take some questions there. Do we understand the consumer behavior, mobile, especially on the mobile space, right? So how are other brands reacting to this? So how people are looking at something which we looked at it. Why should I ever consider having an app for my business, right? So that's what we talked about, engagement, recall. What are the things I can do outside apps? So it's not talking about, it's not mobility means apps, right? You don't have to really think of mobile application development. You can go mobile marketing strategy. You can make use of this wave. Is my present marketing initiative working for me now? So how do I engage with customers through mobile apps? So any other questions which we can take up here? Right? If you look at all the data, it's all coming from smartphones, right? So maybe it's a global number, not Indian specific number. So my thing is, if you look at the 3%, it's a big, I don't know, whatever the number it is, right?
Over here, I would like to add a point to it. You told it's 3%, but when you see the volume of the 3%, it's very big.
Correct.
Because India is a volume-based country, not a quality-based.
Correct, but again, there is no paid apps on that. And what is the users, the time session of all the application if you check it out?
For this 3%, what I can tell with my experience of developing apps, you can try with this freemium option. It has better response than you selling paid apps.
So there are a couple of things. So is your audience is Indian audience? Today, that's first question, right? Is your business or app which you're serving, is it limited to only Indian context? That's the first number question, right? Second thing is, if you are going after a smartphone segment, definitely you are looking at the user base, right? So your 100% of the user base is the 3% of the smartphone guys, right? Given that, how much you can make how much value addition you can add to those people, therefore it returns a business. I mean, assume if you choose to ignore the 3%, you're not going to be socially active, right? You're not going to be known. Today, I had interesting questions for people like Yogi. He said, for the first time, somebody is discovering Stazilla and making a first-time transaction from mobile or from their website on the second-tier cities. How did they manage to reach, right? How did they? Does that happen? There's a space for you to play a role. So it depends. I mean, mobile is not restricted to single geography today. So if you're, for example, you're a game developer, we don't care about 3%. We care about 100% market share of a smartphone, wherever it is on the earth, right? So,
all right. So, with regarding to the 100% market share, which is 3%, most of the smartphones, whether it is based in the less than 5,000 range or more than 5,000 range, in most even urban cities, is bought by people who do not know to use mobile phones, or probably whose first mobile phone is a smartphone.
Right.
Where all that they know is that now, instead of using a 3-letter worded key on a phone, they can actually individually type those keys without a keypad at all, and the keypad comes on demand.
Correct.
Right? That's one. The second thing is that even the people who are using apps, let us say, I make no offense meant, but let's say most of the youth, college-going youth out there, they use apps more on a social context.
Correct.
Taking information, through the social context about any, let's say, if it's let's say just Puma shoes, just like you said, or if it's something as simple to understand as that, then I understand. But let us say if it was something very specific that you're talking about, say custom-made jewelry for all you care, right? Or application development for all, training for all you care. Again, the amount of people who can really intercept this and really understand this becomes much, 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 much lesser. So out of the 3% we're talking about, you're talking about an educated percentage of, say, 0.3%. And within the 0.3%, you're talking about a person who will react to advertising or who will react to any kind of an stimulus out there, apart from his own day-to-day activities of my cat rolled over, is going to be, probably 1% of that, which is a very, very small number, even considering the entire, global, entire population of India.
So
how does it make relevance?
So
5-6 years back, there was no Android, right? I mean, there was... No, just hear me out first. Can you hear me? So 5-6 years back, there was no smartphones and all of that. You just had your Blackberries. Today, the stage is reached where there are more phones and more tablets being sold in the West than computers. The whole question was, how will India adapt to the smartphone market? Because they were supposed to be very expensive. But now you have the Chinese imports and all of that. I think 3% is a very wrong number. I think it's more around 17%. And it's going to go up to almost 60% within the next 3 years. India is now, in the next 3 years, looking at a completely non-desktop model. Phones and tablets is the future. Now, coming to your main important point, how the people in Tier 2, Tier 3 and villages going to be using it. And that's where the whole UI, UX part comes in. You don't... And your question about specific models, like, customizing jewelry and all of that. So you have your mobile phones and you have tablets, right? And it works on both. And the screens are only getting bigger. So I think the way the whole industry is progressing, it is open to all kinds of businesses now. I mean, now you can actually take a tablet and you can customize anything that you want on it. You can draw, you can paint, anything. I think to anyone sitting here in the audience, mobile and tablets are the future. In 3 years, I can see businesses dying out who have not adapted to this market. If you all don't adapt to the mobile and tablet market within the next 3 years, there are chances that your competition will wipe you out.
So I think I have another question. So you have to look at what are the other alternatives you have. I mean, unless you are selling something very different, right? So if we compare...
Unless it's too specific, then yeah.
Yeah. Unless, I mean, if you're saying I have very limited mobile users whom I can intercept and I can do my business, most likely that, that number is going to be very roughly, equivalent in even outside the mobile ecosystem.
No, so what I meant was mobile advertising per se. So when you're talking about targeted mobile advertising, consumers of targeted mobile advertising, when you look at, let's say a simple thing, when we go on to, with all due respect again, Sunil, when we go on to the Google search results, most of us just blindfold ourselves to the right side of the screen, right? Which is advertising. Or most of us use ad blockers to basically block all the ads on the on different browsers. I'm talking about specifically consumption of mobile advertising. And mobile advertising requires a certain level of, I would say, certain level of intellectual consumption idea to really say, okay, fine, you know what, if it's just a call to action, I say, okay, I click on this and I buy the product, it's absolutely fine. But that doesn't work always, right? So I'm saying, when
no,
we're talking about 3%,
I don't want to generalize that. It may be a perception and notion over here. Of course, it's well known in the worldwide that, a lot of innovations can be done on mobile advertisement space. It's still not, fully, completely matured enough to do that. But today we are talking about something like $25 billion ad revenues in one single year. It's going to touch like $62 billion over the worldwide, right? So that's a number we are talking about. So definitely that space has got its own value, right? So unless, if it's become a very niche stuff, I'm saying like today I'm sure with this audience, 80 to 90% of your business ideas can be translated into this problem, can be fit. Probably like 5 to 10%, maybe a very special case. I'm trying to sell a rice. How will my smartphone will help? Probably that will also help. If you can have a one-click order, if you can serve, depending on what value proportion. If I serve only rice in my store somewhere in some mandi and I want to give an ad and I have to go and buy it through ads, it may not work out, right? But that's not the case majority of the time. Okay, so that's it from my side.